Okay, guys, how we doing today? Here we are on Thursday, the 8th of August. We're looking at traditionals. Now, I didn't run the poll today. It's just we're all busy doing the day trading webinars this week. But since we're looking at the indexes, and of course we're doing a lot of day trading in here as well, I thought it might be a good day to get a bigger picture here on where we are, and potentially a count shaping up here that it might be worth paying some close attention to. So I've got a 3-day up here. This is on the NASDAQ 100, so I'm just using the continuous futures contract here. All right, so now you look at this and you go, well, all right, so what's the point of that set of median lines? Well, I'm here just in arithmetic scale. If I put that in log scale, you can see what happens here. Right on there, but it certainly looks like we've contained the market. We've looked at this before, right? So we've had this on several times, and it does. You can make a pretty strong case for the 1, 2, 3. Now, what's going on here? I think this is worth noting because it appears that we might have a corrective structure going in here that might create. Well, obviously the median line would be something to pay attention to, but here now in log scale, right, it always distorts your eye a little bit, but here at the 23 might be worth noting as well if we're going to get, if this pattern is going to be realized. So we take it out of log scale, I think you see it a little bit better, but I think that perspective is worthwhile. So I would keep that somewhere, right, with this on it. So you'd be looking for any influence from that set of median lines. But I'm going to take it off for the sake of this video here, but I just show you that so that you have it. Oh, whoops, I want to leave that on. Well, here, we'll come back to that in a sec. Okay, so let me take this off just to kind of make the point that I'm after here. So now let's put this back here. All right, so we're thinking about if indeed we are in a corrective structure here and the 3 is in, which I'm going to propose here, per what I'm seeing here, if we've got a 1, 2, 3, well, just standard stuff, guys, right? It's just where might we, now note here, I'm pulling from the 3 here. Although you're going to have to pay attention to both of these because remember, an algo does not care, right? It is only going to use dominant. But just in terms of an analysis here, looking for either a visit here. So if we're going to get the 4 to come, oh, come here, a little bit lower, this would be that's your high probability zone for a 4. So you can see the first push down, if potentially what. So I'm going to propose to you that we have a scenario here where potentially we have an expanded flat. So let me get that. Here we'll go to green on that. It might be a little too much. Let's go. Here we go. Okay, so I think we've got a pretty solid contender here for an expanded flat, given the structure here that we're seeing through this volatility. So obviously we've got a lot of vol in the markets and the nervous market, creating all of these extreme swings and huge volume spikes. So from the 2, if we're done there, well, let's go dig in a little bit more closely on that. So I'll go down to a 4-hour here and take a look at that in context. So here's the proposed Elliott count as I'm seeing it, this being a reasonable contender here. This is the slightly higher high. I think you can make a pretty good case here for a flat. So we'd have a 3, 3, and potentially now starting into the 5. So it plays. So you can get the A way. So what's making this a little tricky here? So it looked like you had, oh well, okay, 3, 4. We got an A, B, C. All right, so here we come to the 23. Here's our 23.6. We're playing good ball here. So here's an impulse off of the low. Got a 3-wave correction, but this. Well, so of course there's a couple of different ways that this can play. So obvious first thing we'll do is look here. Say, okay, well, we broke the golden zone, so we know we're losing some of that buy side algo support. We did catch the 38 here from the dominant swing low to swing high here. It's a little bit different in the ES where this swing here tagged the trend line, just connecting all of the pivots here. So you have kind of a conundrum here because so you've got a couple of possibilities. Either here's what you're left with here. Either we've got a 1, 2 and we're going up and this is just the 1, 2 of the next degree. So certainly can't eliminate that. That's a very valid count. I've no doubt that people have considered that or looking at that if you're trying to apply just some rudimentary Elliott here. But I think also we got to consider this as the possibility here. So from the 3 here, I'm going to change this template. So I'm just going to go where I'm looking for what you would find more typically for a flat. So in the expansion, right, the idea that we have a contender here for an expanded flat, so i.e. we're moving beyond the pivot here. So I want to take this length, and then I want to look for any technical confluence or significance here that might be relative to the length of this swing, if indeed this is going to play as the B wave here of an expanded flat. So right now it would look like we've got a contender here. So sorry, God darn it. Sorry, guys. I've got a contender here. So are we done? Is that the 1-2 going in? Well, we'll go down and look at that in a second. But if you see what I'm after here, unless we've gone 1-2 and we're going again 1-2, if this starts to come down, that's really going to start to solidify the idea. Now, I would look for additional confluence here. Is there anything else I might find here to help me with my confidence level on this pivot? Well, it would have been ideal. So the 1-2-7-2, that would have been more textbook here for an expanded flat, but it just, right, we don't get there. It doesn't invalidate. So let's go down. Well, pull this over. I still never know why that's always over there. Well, so what do we have here? So if the flat is going to play, if we're going to get a 3-3 and we're starting in the 5, well, let's go down an hourly and see if that would make sense. So you can make a case here that we're just getting started on this. So if we're going to play, if this is going to play as a, well, in this case, we still have the contender here for an impulse. So let me pop that open here so we can see it a little bit better. All right, so we've got a contender here for this to be starting out with a 1-2. Well, that certainly looks impulsive. 3 coming in. So are we going to overlap here? That will certainly be a significant tell here based on what we're seeing. So 1, 2, 3. Well, we're already, this is getting pretty steep here. Now I got to change this back. Oh, shit. Come here. All right, so we're just coming up on the golden zone here. So from the 2, now this is extreme. This you would prefer, right? We know for a 4, you'd rather see it down here between the 23 and the 38. That's where you would like to see that push down for the 5, so that we're gonna test this. So really, it doesn't invalidate until we overlap the 1 here. So we could come to golden zone and then still come down here. Right? Remember, algo doesn't care about the Elliott count. So this is a very valid target. But what it does, it reduces the probability here. So it sets up more probably something closer to a double bottom, because the deeper the 4, again, it doesn't mean we can't go down here. It just, so you think about the size of the move that's going to be required. So this is going to need to be a rather substantial pivot, and then you're looking at, well, it's not just the range of the 4 to the 2, but there's the degree of complexity there. So, rule of alternation, I wouldn't say we're invalidating the idea here, but it would have been certainly more ideal had we come up here and even the 50 here. So this kick that we're getting today has you pause just a little bit. So the alternate being that we've just got a 1 and this is a 2. So we're going to have an A, B. So you can dig the 5 out coming down here. So whether it's the C or a 3, if I open this up a little bit more. So this has to be your 4. That's your only little retrace. So you're going to have to get down this. So that's what's making this, for Elliott traders, what's making this so tough is we're getting these moves that are just not, we're getting very little retrace. So here, where's your 2? Right, if we're going to call this the 3, we need an impulse here. Well, I can work backwards from the 4, 5 here. You really don't have much of a 2, so you got to live with what's there. What do we get? So maybe because you need a 1, 2 of the 3, so you're gonna have to do it this way, or it's not ideal. Right? You don't have anything else to work with. Put that. We'll go to green. All right. So already it's a little iffy on trying to get a subdivision here to play. It's pretty much just a free fall with a couple. There's a 30-minute. I mean, these are modest little pullbacks. So the ABC is pretty clear. So, right, so could this be 1, 2? So if we're done, so think about the alternate. Okay, if this is an ABC and I've got a 1, 2, well, I'm going to need a big rip here. So it looks like it would qualify. So, right, so here's right to the 50. Now we're through the first target. We know we're going to get some resistance here as we come up to that golden zone, but that's not our all the way. This is our all the way. So you might pay attention to both of those here, since we're comfortably through the 50 of the all the way from the high to low. Let me tighten that up. We're comfortably through the 50, right? Was anticipating that we might get, because of that over. So look here. So we had sort of a little divot here in the volume profile. It looked like this, and you had the structure here. So you had this pivot. This was a reasonable spot to look for retracement. That would have been a little more consistent with the idea that we were going to hold on to the thinking that we had a 4 here. But now we're pushing it. See if there's any of this geometry could be helpful to us. Well, if I come here, it gets a little steep here, so I'm just kind of looking to potentially for this to be trading as my corrective structure. I think I'm more inclined to go with a channel there because it's so skinny. So here to here looks pretty solid. So we can certainly build the structure for this. I think we go A, B, C. We got to go B, C here. So we coming up for that at that degree. Certainly, right? You can't eliminate it. Put that in yellow. So this will be, I think, fairly significant to the idea that we're going to hold on to the possibility here that we've got a massive 4. So already, just look at the difference, right? So this is why you get a little bit ill at ease with it. So look at the 2 compared to the 4, right? It's just at least double, if not triple its size. So then you think, okay, maybe I got this wrong. Maybe this is A, B, C. If this is 1, 2, well, I'm gonna take this off here just for the possibility that we want to rethink this. If this is gonna go as a 1, 2, let's consider the alternate. If this is 1, 8, shit. Yeah, I guess we can do it that way. If we're gonna go 3, 4, 5, well, so that's gonna blow this up. I'll get less and less excited about this if we overlap this 1, right? I think this is going to be the idea of the diagonal reduces pretty substantially if we're going to retrace this high. So remember, if you were thinking diagonal, already we're through the 50 because you'd use the start of the 1. Right? So I just had this up here. So you'd use the start of the 1 through the pivot of the 3. You'd look for the reaction at the 50. It was all there. All the ingredients were there for that to be the pivot. Doesn't happen. So what does that leave for us? Well, the alternate would be that, let's put this off to the side here with our 1, 2. Well, we're looking for something pretty substantial here. So if we got the 1, 2, well, we're just coming up at the 100. Here would be your 1618. So all of this, perhaps we'll take that up a degree. Let's go to sub blue here. Okay, so if this is going to go 1, 2, I'm going to need a big kick here. How are we looking down here? Well, volume's drying up a little bit. Got some data coming into the market tomorrow. So you can certainly see this declining interest on the buy side here. So it's not dramatic divergence here. RSI is a little hot, but you're not getting excitement from the buyers, at least not just yet. Now, of course, this thing, right? So it's just a snapshot in time. That could be up there within an hour. You don't know. So just be careful about leaning into that too much right now. So as the market's going higher, this reduction in buy side interest is of note. But before I would say, oh, that's really meaningful because that can change, I would want to see something starting down where I could kind of lock into the idea that I had a pivot here, both a pivot with regards to the Weiss wave, but also a pivot here that I could work with, so this all starts to lock in and make more sense. So if that starts to come down here, then this has more meaning to me. Right now, that could easily change. So well, here's the first 100. So we have the conditions. Well, we're not even there yet. And that's assuming, note, I'm doing this a little bit, working on the idea that we get an expanded flat here as well, that we've got A, B, C. All right, I'm looking for 3. Could it be there? Yeah, it could be. Let's tighten these up a bit. Make sure we're right on it. 1, 2, 3. Well, so I guess you'd have to do it this way. So you'd have to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's take that down. put that green, sorry. All right, so maybe there's your 1, 8. Now another expanded flat for the 2, so I can get my 3-wave structure there. That's why I'm using this. So then if we think about putting that together, if that's my 1, I'm 50 to the tick here. All right, so that's part of the reason I lean into that. And then look here, we've just hit that and gotten through it. So now we're up towards, well, here's second target. Well, I have it. Yeah, here's second target right here. So if this is going to go, let's think about that. If that's going to go higher now that may be a factor up here if we're going to get that. So if we're going 1, 2, 3, well, this has to be your 1, 2. Yeah, so let's just label it here. I know it gets hard to see in here, guys. I'm going to clear this up for you. It's a little tentative about that placement here. Let's put that. So it's not great, right? So if you remember, it's 1, 2. You got to find the next 1, 2. So that's really all you got to work with. So it's, I don't love it. You wouldn't tee that up and go, oh, I've got the perfect setup happening here. So the first problem is if that's 1, 2. Oh shit! I know that's getting too crowded. Okay, let's take that off. Let's take this one off. Okay, so if this is correctly identified and this is 1, 2, well, that is going to be tough to dig an impulse out of there. So 1, 2, we're at the high probability zone. So that's a reasonable target here for the 3, 4. Maybe we get up here for the 5, gives us our 3. That would be the 2, 6, 1, 8. So looking in here, even if it's 15 minute, can we dig an impulse out of that? Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Right, where's your 2? 1, 2, can't do that. So you could only go 1, 2, 1, 2. That doesn't work. So it's kind of a. So for me, if I look at it, if I'm just uncomfortable with what I'm seeing here, and that I can't, I'm like, oh, it could be, maybe, I don't know, could possibly. That makes me just pause and go, well, why do I want to force a trade here, right? So maybe you can make a case for this trade, right? If you're a bull, right at a 50, maybe that, because I bet you that's looks like it's right to a 50, right? So here's the next 50. That's already been realized. So so here's the negative 100. We know that's very close to the 1618. So all of the wave relationships are consistent. So then now we're right back to, well, how much emphasis do you want to put on being able to get the subdivision to fly there? Because I don't see an impulse there. Well, it's not. Well, I don't see it because there isn't one there. Right? It's not. I mean, you can't force one in there. Even if this was your, so even if you were like, all right, that maybe we don't have that. Maybe we got to do it this way. So maybe this becomes the 3. This becomes the 4. This becomes the 2. All right. Well, it doesn't change my impulse here. I still, right, thinking, oh, maybe that's, you're being, trying to be too creative here on what we're seeing here, although the ABC structure does play. But even if you say, oh, that's nuts. Here's the high, here's the 3, there's the 4, there's the 5. Okay, great. It doesn't change my problem here. Even, let's just see if we open that up. Really? You're going to get an ABC out of that? I don't think so. I don't think it's there, right? So your best case, even if you took, all right, what else could we look at? Could we consider something crazy like an A, B, and a dramatically truncated C? Doesn't look like it, especially since we came right into the prime spot for the 2 between the 50 and the 618. You can see, so algos, they don't care about the Elliott count. They're getting paid. They got that. They don't have anything else to work with here. They haven't had another 50. Oh, no, there's a 38. So they haven't. So maybe they've got something here. Right, we look here. Yep, there you go. So there's one. So here's golden zone. That's to and through. So they're just fine and dandy, right? So they've already got that. We always were trying to tuck the Elliott count in around what they've done last, but I don't see an impulse in here. So what do we do? Well, so I look at that and I go, well, so you got to make a decision, right? So if I can't get an impulse in here, at least at this point, so either you wait and you say, okay, well, I couldn't get it, but if I got something like that, it's hard not to be interested there, right? If I got something like that, even I can't get that subdivision to work. So we were having this conversation in our day trading webinar today. So you look at that and you go, all right, well, what's the potential? What are the trade-offs here? If you take that trade, and this is something traders, we all have to deal with this, right? So if you take that trade at the 4, right, and you get a winner there, then you go, all right, well, wasn't I smart? Well, shit, right? So Elliott, right, it's not 100%, nothing's perfect, and wasn't there, but I got a decent reach. God damn, that's too much stuff on there. Let me get that off. But I got a decent retrace, right? So it made sense to me. Now, if I take that and that's a winner, are you reinforcing a bad habit? So because here's the alternative in terms of the damage it can do to you. Right, so if it's a loser, if you take this here and you get stopped out, well, so let's just put the trade together, right? So if you took the 2 through the 3 and say, yeah, well, I don't see an impulse, but I don't really care. All right, I'm just going to take that 50. All right, so I'm just going to do what an algo is going to do. Here's a dominant. This would be your dominant. But in terms of an Elliott count, 3, we're coming down. I get an ABC. We're right here. I get a loser. Well, so what's more impactful? So I propose to you that the impact of taking that loser there is more profound to my trading psyche, because now I'm going to come back to it and go, God damn it, what are you doing taking that trade? There's no impulse there. You don't see it. So you're taking this trade just on the hopium. Well, it's kind of maybe, right? So to me, I will beat myself up much more if I take the loser there, because I'm back there saying it wasn't there. Why are you taking that trade? Whereas if it's a winner, well, you get away with it. You do get away with it. But the next time that sets up, do you do it again? Right? Are you just reinforcing the bad habit? And I continually come back to the psychological impact here is more severe than whatever I'm going to make on that. At least to me, because now often, right, at the end of the day, it's a good thing to do, whether you're day trading or swing trading, is evaluate the trade and say, would I take that trade 100 out of 100 times? Or was there something else going on here? Was I bored? Was I just thinking, oh, fuck, man, we got a little sell-off here, let's just buy it, right? So it's all the things that are going on in your head as you're looking at that going, well, I don't really see it, but boy, the structure's good, and well, we're at something here. Well, oh, maybe just, we got a little base of consolidation here, and that's all we're doing, right? So that's how you rationalize yourself into the trade. But if it's a loser, and now you're back reevaluating your trades, right? So you're looking and say, you look at that and you go, well, would I take that trade 100 out of 100 times? I wouldn't. Because really, I fear what that's going to do to me psychologically more than I fear missing that trade. Something to think about, right? So that's so often trades will come and go. It's particularly when you're day trading. I'm very selective about what I take, because I'm more concerned about what's going to happen if I'm wrong. Because I know, really, if I'm sticking to my trading plan, I shouldn't be taking that trade. If I can't dig an impulse out of that, I don't take the trade. If I can dig the impulse out and we come to this level and I've got all of those ingredients, I've got the structure, I've got the 38, I've got enough distance in the 3, I take it 100 out of 100 times. But if I can't say that, why are you taking the trade? Right? You talked yourself into it. I was fucking bored. I don't know. I just wanted a little action in my day, right? It's very common, right? I was a broker for almost 15 years. I would have that conversation with my clients on a regular basis. I watched people do it. They'd call me up and say, what's moving today, Sam? They got a boring job, and talking to their broker, that was a little buzz. That's the thrill of the action. Right? I've been that guy, on the other side of the phone saying, well, NASDAQ looks pretty good here. Right? That's the inherent conflict between a broker and his client, right? He takes the trade, broker gets his commission. You don't take the trade, well, right? So then it ends up like that. Then the client's calling you up, thanking you for not taking the trade. Oh man, I'm so glad we passed on that. And now you're a hero, right? But that's your boss is coming to you saying, how are we looking on fees today? It's the conundrum you deal with. That's why I got out of that business, right? It's the conflict of interest and too many body bags along the way. So I know I'm rambling here on a bit of a rant here about, but I hope there's value there, guys, because that's important, right? It's at the end of the day, can you go back through your trades and say, I would take that 100 out of 100 times, win or lose? It's the setup that I wait for. That's the one I wait for. So then you come back here and you say, well, I'd take that 60% of the time. Well, that's not a trading plan. You want to set up trades that you take 100 out of 100 times, right? And then come back and say, would I take that again? Would I take that tomorrow if the same thing sets up? So that's probably enough on that. All right, guys. So I don't think there's anything here to do at the moment until this piece of it clarifies. Now, if this just continues to rip here, we'll be able to get some sort of an impulse out of that. Right now, it's just not there. It looks more like you've got an ABC, some sort of A, sideways B, C. Doesn't look like I've got an impulse. So that sets up the possibility that we're going down here, which is back where we started on the idea that we've got potentially an expanded flat. So if this is going to go 1, 2, you'd be looking for 3, 4 to bring this down here where now the whole thing makes sense. Okay, down here, I know right where I am. Oh, I got an expanded flat. I've got 5 coming down. I'm looking for the C. I'm looking for the 4. If that sets up, oh, hell yes, 100 out of 100 times. All right, guys, there's a bunch of fuel for thought for you. All right. I don't know if I'm going to get another one today, but that'll give you plenty to chew on. All right, back to you later.